You know the story, right? The debauchery, the charisma, the mountains of Quaaludes. It's the legend of Jordan Belfort, immortalized as the Wolf of Wall Street. It's become this modern myth of finance. But today, we're going to look past the myth.
Yeah, this is the quote, the one that makes it all sound so rebellious, right? Like he was some kind of renegade genius, sticking it to the man, beating the stuffy Wall Street establishment. It's a great line, but that's the movie. That's the legend.
Okay, now for the reality check. $200 million. That's the estimated amount of money stolen, snatched from over 1,500 regular people. And we're not talking about Wall Street big shots here. We're talking about small business owners, retirees, folks who are just trying to save up for their kids' college. Look, the movie was a dark comedy, for sure. But the real story? That was a straight-up criminal tragedy. What you saw on screen was a caricature. And behind all that craziness was a very carefully engineered machine built to steal. So that's what we're going to dig into. The stuff the movie kind of glossed over. How the scam actually worked, the long, slow hunt to take them down, and the real-world damage they left behind.
So let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Stratton Oakmont wasn't some legit firm that just got a little greedy over time. No way. Federal prosecutors were crystal clear about this. It was a fraud factory from day one. A classic boiler room built for one single purpose, to take your money.
And the engine of this fraud machine? It was the classic pump and dump. It's actually a pretty simple and ugly concept. First, they'd secretly buy up tons of worthless penny stocks. These are tiny, obscure companies nobody's ever heard of, which makes their prices super easy to mess with. Then their army of brokers would hit the phones and create this insane buying frenzy. That's the pump. And once the price shot through the roof, Belfort and his buddies would dump all their shares at the peak, walking away with millions. And everyone else? Left holding a worthless bag as the stock crashed back to zero.
So you might be thinking, how did they convince anyone to buy this junk? Well, this is where it gets really clever and really scummy. They use something called the Kodak pitch. A broker would never cold call you about some random company. Nah, they'd call you to talk about a safe, solid, blue chip stock, something you know and trust, like Kodak. See, that was just the bait. They didn't care if you bought Kodak, they just wanted to earn your trust and get you to open an account. Then, once you were hooked, they'd make the switch. Hey, by the way, I've got this other incredible opportunity.
But, just messing with existing stocks wasn't enough for them. They wanted more control. So the whole operation evolved. They started taking companies public themselves through what are called initial public offerings, or IPOs. Think about that. They basically started manufacturing their own fraud from the ground up. This gave them total, absolute control. They controlled the supply of the stock, and with their boiler room, they controlled the demand. Profit wasn't just likely, it was pretty much guaranteed. And this is where you start to see just how deep this all went. I mean, of course, you've got Belfort and his number two, Danny Porish. But check out that last name on the list, Steve Madden. Yes, that Steve Madden, the shoe guy. His company's IPO was one of Stratton's biggest schemes. And Madden wasn't just some clueless client. He was a childhood friend of Porish and an active co-conspirator. He helped Belfort illegally rig the whole thing. He ended up serving more than 3 years in federal prison for it. Now, the movie makes the takedown look like this slick, fast-paced cat-and-mouse game, A brilliant FBI agent versus a genius outlaw. The reality? It was anything but. It was a slow, frustrating, grinding takedown that took multiple agencies years and years to pull off. One of the key people leading the charge was FBI Special Agent Gregory Coleman. And for him, there was no single gotcha moment. He and his team spent 6 years just slogging through financial records, tracking money laundered through Swiss bank accounts, just meticulously building a case brick by brick. It was the total opposite of a Hollywood blockbuster. It was just grueling, methodical police work. And just look at this timeline. It really shows you what a slog it was. The first big lawsuit from the SEC hits them way back in 1992. 2 years later, Belfort gets banned for life. But does he stop? Nope. He just puts a puppet in charge and keeps pulling the strings from the shadows. It wasn't until 1996 that they finally managed to shut the firm down for good. And the actual federal indictments? Those didn't even come down until 1999. This wasn't some quick raid. It was a full-on siege. So yeah, Belfort and his crew eventually went to prison, but for pretty short sentences, all things considered. And that brings us to what's maybe the most important part of this whole story. The part the movie really doesn't show you. The human cost. the people who were left behind to clean up the mess, and the massive debt that's still unpaid. So what's Jordan Belfort's net worth today? Well, estimates put it at around negative $100 million. How is that even possible? Simple. It's because of the huge amount of money a court ordered him to pay back to his victims, money he still owes. Let's be really clear about this. The court ordered him to pay back $110 million to his victims. So far, he's paid back about $14 million, a tiny fraction. And most of that didn't even come out of his pocket. It came from the government seizing and selling his assets when he was sentenced. So while Belfort is out there famous, making money off his story, this is the reality for the people he hurt. People like Ken Miner, a real estate appraiser who said, "I'm not a rich guy and I've been paying for it ever since." He lost money he couldn't afford to lose. For him and for so many others, this whole thing didn't just end when the company shut down. The consequences are still very real. And this right here, this is the part that is just staggering. On one side, you've got Jordan Belfort. He's reinvented himself as a sales guru, a motivational speaker, charging, upwards of 75 grand for a speech, basically teaching the same high-pressure tactics he used to commit his crimes. And on the other side, you have the victims, people who lost their life savings, their retirement funds, money they'd put away for their kids' education. It's just a brutal contrast. Okay, so what are the big lessons here? Well, if you look past all the Hollywood glamour, the real story of Stratton Oakmont has some timeless warnings for all of us. And it also has one of the weirdest, most unexpected legacies you could possibly imagine. You're not going to believe this. Back in 1995, some random person on an online message board called Stratton Oakmont a bunch of criminals. So what did Stratton do? They sued the internet provider, and the court sided with them, saying that if you moderate your platform, you're responsible for what people say on it. This sent the entire brand new internet into a total panic. So what did Congress do? They created Section 230. That's the law, the one that says platforms like YouTube, Facebook, all of them, are not responsible for what users post. It's the literal legal foundation of the modern internet we use every day. And it exists because a criminal boiler room got its feelings hurt. How wild is that? Okay, but the real lessons are the ones that can actually protect you and your money today. Because make no mistake, the Stratton Oakmont playbook is still out there. It's just been updated for the digital age. So be super wary of anyone trying to pressure you into a quick decision. Question everything. A fancy-sounding name means nothing. Stratton Oakmont was literally made up to sound old and established. And always, always remember that if an investment sounds way too good to be true, it is. Your best shield against this kind of fraud? Diversification. Don't ever put all your eggs in one basket. So, in the end, yeah, the wolf was caged. He went to prison. But when you look around today, at all the crypto scams, the meme stock craziness, the social media influencers pumping who knows what, you really have to wonder. The technology is different for sure, but are the tactics really all that new? The wolf might have been caught, but that desperate hunt for easy money and the predators who feed on it, that never really goes away, does it?